After months of anticipations, the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Hunters, is finally available to be downloaded for free. But before you go rushing to your iOS or Android Play stores, this is a soft beta release that is only applicable in India, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and is only available in the Google Play Store. So it's pretty difficult to download and play it if you're not in these countries, but that didn't stop us from being able to get some gameplay anyway. And after playing a few matches, I gotta say it leans towards it being pretty good. There's no doubt the things that are drawing this game back is the accessibility on mobile. Any games that are available on mobile are simply just going to be downgraded versions than what you could play on PC or on console. And that is indeed true, because we've got some extra screenshots of the Nintendo Switch version that we'll show a little bit later on in the video. But in a quick summary, I'd say this gameplay is a bit like a dumbed down version of the ground combat in Battlefront 2. You have a various selection of characters that you can choose from, each having their own weapons and abilities, and those different characters fall into 3 different classes, which is damage, support, and tank. So the character we're playing now, which is Zaina, a veteran to the New Republic, she primarily runs blasters like the Han Solo hero does in Battlefront 2. So this means you need to keep your distance from enemies, have a lot of verticality in your positioning, and pretty much kite damage from afar. And the main character of this game, Reeve, which is a Night Sister, primarily runs a lightsaber and requires you to get into close quarters combat. Other characters like Groz primarily serve to be a tank and get in front of people to stop them from hurting their team. And from that, you probably already have a good idea of how the game plays. I would say the characters running lightsabers are more interesting to play than others, those primarily just being Reeve and J3DI. But according to the cinematic trailer we got a couple of months ago, we thought that was going to be all the characters available. But according to the Star Wars Hunters website, we will be getting new characters that'll come out for the game in later months. But coming back to what we can play with right now, we're only able to play 4 of the 7 characters available right now, those being Amir FX, Reeve, Zaina, and Groz. As for the other characters, I don't know if you can unlock them while playing the game, or they're just completely locked off during this soft launch. That's going to require a bit more gameplay time, and it does seem that we can only play on 1 map for now, and only 1 game mode to that map, which is King of the Hill. The map is extremely small if we exclude the safe zones where you cannot be attacked, meaning that you're always about 5 meters away from an enemy or an ally. The people that you play against are nothing to be desired. I would not be surprised if these are bots we're going against right now, considering the limited amount of players on the game. The first impression positives is definitely the graphics for a mobile game. There's a lot of clarity in who's the enemy, how much damage you're dealing, how much health do you have, and how much health does the enemy have, etc, etc. And these game modes really work because you can feel the impact you're having on the game, which I can't really say much of when you are playing a Battlefront 2 match. And as I mentioned before, a lot of these characters share a lot of similarities to heroes in Battlefront 2 as well. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it feels like Battlefront 2 met Overwatch in a way. This is an FPS MOBA after all, and it does that quite well. But the other big issue I had about the game in previous videos is the in-game currency. This game is being made by Zynga, and it didn't give me a lot of hope in whether or not this was going to be a play-to-win type of game. So it caught me by surprise that it is not that by any means. The only things that are purchasable in the store is emotes, the intros for your characters before you start a game, skins for your guns and characters alike. In terms of gameplay, there's nothing you can add monetarily to make you play better. That was my biggest issue with Star Wars Hunters, and they never addressed if this was going to be a play to win game. So whilst yes, there is microtransactions, which might not sit with many, you're not dealing with the insufferable loot boxes that you got in other games like BF2 or Overwatch. And if you don't want to pay money, you can still play like anybody else. There's no limitations. So yeah, I'm pretty hopeful for this game, and the first initial impressions in terms of gameplay isn't perfect by any means, but it's decent enough, you know? In terms of criticisms, they lie elsewhere now. Whilst the game does graphics and clarity pretty well, the core of the gameplay feels relatively flat. Whilst the camera follows your character pretty smoothly, the animations do not. They're clunky, they're either too slow or too fast. it's kind of hard to telegraph what a player is doing and where they'll be after they've finished an ability, and looking at enemies and teammates trying to look around as fast as possible to see who they can shoot looks pretty clumsy. Whilst the models of the characters look pretty darn good, the animation is definitely where it's lacking. And when it comes to sound effects for weapons and characters, that is also really lacking. So whilst you've got a game that actually looks pretty impressive, it ends up losing that polish to other things like sound and animation. And to be honest, it's lack of features like that obviously shows this is a mobile game. As time goes on and the player base fills up and people know how to play the game, I think there'll be a lot of substance to Star Wars Hunters that'll keep people coming back. The arena-based FPS MOBA genre on mobile is definitely lacking, especially when we're being flooded with BRs like Fortnite and PUBG. Star Wars Hunters is a breath of fresh air for what I hope to be a really good Star Wars live service game. There's definitely a lot of improvements Zynga needs to do to make this game feel like a 10 out of 10. But right now it's leaning on a 6 to a 6.5, but I'm really positive with the potential that Star Wars Hunters have to push it even further. But when I see this gameplay and see how close it resembles to Battlefront 2, it just makes me think, why aren't these resources being diverted to BF2? Why are their servers being shut down for almost a year now, which was a Star Wars game that had the biggest redemption arc to it, result in it being shut down and no BF3 being confirmed? Star Wars Hunters will be a fun game to play on mobile, but overall, Battlefront 2 on console was just a lot more enjoyable and a lot more polished. Resources and money should have been put into that game rather than a new game like Star Wars Hunters. But let's shift focus. We've already covered everything that the mobile soft launch has to offer, but we actually got more screenshots of what the game will look like on the Nintendo Switch. And I gotta be honest, it's really surprised me on how beautiful this game looks on console. Zynga is primarily known for these shoddy 2D Facebook games that your mothers play. This looks like a really decent console game to me, something I would never expect Zynga to make. So when the game is looking this stunning on the Nintendo Switch, they gotta clean up the animations and make the game a lot smoother to look at. This could do so well, and they're so close to getting it really cleaned up. I just don't think it's going to be happening in the full launch in early 2022. But it doesn't stop there. It looks like Star Wars Hunters will end up getting a PS4 and Xbox One release. Whilst it wasn't 100% confirmed in an IGN article, Zynga president Bernard Kim has mentioned time and time again that they want to start pushing into the console markets. The Nintendo Switch is a nice bridge without breaking the EA contract they have with Disney in terms of console games, but when 2023 rears its head, I would not be surprised if Zynga wants to push this game to other consoles. And that is where I think Star Wars Hunters will reach its peak. This game deserves a console release, especially for how it's looking right now and where it could be in the future. At the time of recording, this is the only Star Wars game that is a live service right now. Battlefront 2 has been shut down, Jedi Fallen Order is a single player game, and Star Wars Squadrons never got the live service it deserved. So this is what we've got for another 2 years. So even if you're looking at the gameplay right now and thinking, I'm not going to play this, that's fine. Go ahead and pick up Halo Infinite. It just came out yesterday. But if you're looking for another Star Wars shooter to come out real soon, don't hold your breath. This is what we've got so far, and honestly, it could be worse, but it could be a lot better too. So fingers crossed for Star Wars Hunters. I really hope the full launch shows a lot more of its potential. And this is where I pass the question over to you guys. What do you think about this gameplay of Star Wars Hunters? Is it better than what you expected? Are you happy that it's not a pay-to-win game? Or are you still not convinced? Do you still think it looks like a really boring mobile game? And what do you believe it needs to offer to make it stand out in all the other FPS MOBAs out there? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and of course join our Discord if you want to join in on everything Star Wars. We've got everything from monthly Star Wars Empire War tournaments, Halo Infinite discussion, as well as Star Wars Squadrons discussions with fellow Star Wars fans. So the invite code will be in the pinned comment down below. But with that all said and done, guys, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.